Oxford, Alabama, with head coach Sam Adams, Sam the Man Adams. Coach Adams' first year last year actually turned out to be a very successful one. Looked dim at the start, Coach, but man, you guys really put it together when it counted. And you and I talked before the season about the importance of maintaining what we had going on here, because you've been very successful. But then at the end of the day, you knew you had a task in front of you, and the job you did last year. And I said this to many people, could have been Coach of the Year worthy, because it was fantastic. Take us back to last season, Coach, because when you got here, you knew this thing had been going at a pretty high scale. Mm-hmm. You lost a lot of guys. But you didn't make no excuses. That was your first thing. You made no excuses. And then adversity hit, start of the season, when injuries, stuff like that. So, I don't know if you could stack that against a person starting out in a new place, but to get all that done and to win that region championship like you did, if you put all that into words, please do.
Yeah, it was, really, you just saw a bunch of young kids grow up over the course of a season. We had a lot of roster turnover to begin with, and then the injury bug hit us on top of that, and we had, even with the numbers being what they were to start with, kind of low, there were some games we went into it missing 3, 4, 5 starters. And so, at one point in the season, we were starting 6 freshmen and 1 8th grader. Finished up the season still starting 4 freshmen and 1 8th grader. And really, you just saw those guys gain more experience and gain more maturity over the course of the year. And, we're really now, hopefully about to reap even more benefits from that. These guys are continuing to grow up. You'll see a lot of the same faces for us this season that you did last year. We only had 11 seniors last year. So we lost, I think, 3 starters on offense and maybe 4 on defense. But we had other guys that did get starting opportunities sporadically over the course of the year because of the injury situation. So, we still have what would be considered a young team looking at us now, but a lot of those young guys have 1 year of experience under their belt playing against 6A and 7A competition.
Now, Coach, another thing that I thought was unbelievably brutal was your schedule last year.
Yeah.
Your non-region games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit? And what? Not only was this, you was in a pretty tough region, but then when you stepped out of region, you played Thompson.
Yeah, we had Thompson, Central Phoenix City, Pleasant Grove, Gadsden City. So we had three state finalists on our schedule, non-region schedule last year. Both of the 7A finalists, and then 1 in 5A. And then Gadsden City probably didn't get as much credit as they deserved last year for being a good team in a really tough region.
7A Region 3 team who was very competitive and missed the playoffs by a hair. So that was your quote-unquote easy game. You know what I mean? All right, Coach. So now that had to be a confidence boost for those kids to win that region.
Oh, absolutely.
But how do you put that? Here's my next question. How do you put that in the past and keep these kids hungry? But again, the distractions, these are good distractions, is people who do not know what you guys have a $20+ million facility going in here at Oxford. Mm-hmm. You got new turf, a lot of great things. But how do you put all those distractions aside and get what you needed done this summer?
Well, that's just kind of continuing message that we gave to them over and over last year. Because when you start off the year like we did last year, there's a lot of noise, naysayers, people from the outside that have opinions that at the end of the day really don't matter at all to what we're trying to accomplish on a day-to-day basis. And you just take that message and you're just applying it to other scenarios now. We have lots of possible distractions with the construction that's going on around us. We have to reroute our kids a lot during the day. Our weight room has now moved further back on campus because construction is going through our old weight room.
So it's not here now?
It is not. No, our locker room is on this end of the stadium. Our weight room is now on the opposite side of campus. We were busing back and forth to that in the summertime. That's just, we just talk about over and over again that the way that we answered all the noise last year was just with work. And that's really what we're doing now. And there's always going to be different sets of complications, no matter if you're in a scenario like we are now with all this construction, or if you've won 2 state championships in a row, or if you're starting off with 2 losses in a row. You're always going to have to be dealing with something forcing some kind of outside noise out of your day-to-day operations.
What did you learn from this team to grit through that? What was the number one thing that stuck out to you? Like, man, this is something pretty cool these guys have.
I mean, that team just showed an immense amount of toughness. I mean, mental toughness. Because outside of the fact that physically some of those guys were not expected to be on the field at that point in their career, just being able to withstand mentally the way that our season kind of started off last year, and then to end up at the end of the season playing pretty good football.
Absolutely.
You know, being region champ and making it to the second round, and you know, I mean, there's only 8 region champions in the state of Alabama in 6A, and Oxford High School was one of them. And I don't think a lot of people were predicting that probably 3 or 4 weeks into the season. You know, that thing had kind of turned. But it also, you know, it showed people, hopefully it showed people outside of this community that, I mean, this program is bigger than me or any 1 player, 2 players, 5 players that we have. This place won a lot of football games long before I got here, and it's going to win a whole lot of games long after me, and all these players are gone, just because that's the way Oxford's made.
That's right. Now, Coach, diving into you know, this season coming up, you've had your guys this summer, you put in the work. Now the real work's coming in, like the real fall practice coming in. What's some of the things you can hang your hat on that you know you got with this team, and what are some of the things that you need to focus on to get them better at?
Yeah. I think that the biggest improvement we make at a certain position from last year to this year is our receiving core. So that's kind of a combination of guys that had some experience last year that are growing up, like Judd Sire started for us last year as a sophomore, was an all-region player. He's a junior now and a really much better version of himself. Jayden Dobbins started for us last year at corner. We've moved him into a slot receiver role. We actually made some interesting personnel moves. Amari Carroll, who was actually our leading receiver last year, he's now playing on the defensive side of the ball.
Flipped him over the other way.
We flipped him the other way. We have Nick Richardson that's new to our program as a sophomore that factors into that role somewhere. D.K. Wilson that got a lot of action last year as a freshman, mostly at running back. We're working him in the slot a lot right now, and he's got really just a dynamic skill set. And then rising freshman Jalen Taylor is a name that everybody in the state's going to know soon enough in football and basketball. And, you know, defensive line.
In basketball, he's the real deal.
He is a special athlete
Yes,
and a special kid all the way around. Extremely coachable. Yes, sir, no, sir. And whatever he's got to fix, he doesn't get offended if he gets coached. He just wants to do whatever he's got to do to make the correction and be a better player. And he's the same way in basketball, and that's what's going to make him the most successful on top of his athletic ability.
I agree.
Then you know, aside from that, we lost both outside linebackers last year that were really good players, and so both of those guys are going to be hard to replace. So right now we're working, you know, 3 or 4 different guys in that spot. You know, Braden Cochran, Justin Bowen, Talon Edwards, a rising freshman, Jamichael Garrett, who's another guy that everybody in the state's going to know at some point here in the coming years or maybe the coming weeks. You know, he's a 14-year-old kid that looks like a 24-year-old man. And, you know, he's growing up quick in football.
These guys don't even have driving permits. Not licenses, driving permits.
Can't even see R-rated movies yet.
Yeah. He's going to have to tackle some 18, sometimes 19-year-old kids in a very high level of football. But Coach, you also moved into a new region this year, which, I mean, it's murderer's row at this point, it looks like. Talk about that new region alignment. And, I mean, it's really probably – I go on a limb and say probably the best top to bottom 6A region in the state.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people tend to talk about a certain 2 or 3 teams within the region. And, you know, I think maybe 5 out of the last 6 state champions are all in the same region now in 6A, which is phenomenal. Jeez. But a lot of people are not really giving enough credit to the teams that are not necessarily like the first ones you think of in the 6A state championship picture. You know, you got schools like, you know, Huffman, Centerpoint. You know, Pell City's a big rival of ours.
Who's got Steve Mask now?
Yeah, a Hall of Fame head coach.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's definitely a region where you don't have any time to sit back and catch your breath and, you know, just imagine you're going to assume you're going to get a win that week.
That's right.
You know, you got to go out and fight for it every single week.
Yeah, man, I seen that region realignment. I was like, well, I guess they're trying to depict the state champion right here in this region this year.
Yeah, it's a tough one. But then important thing to keep in mind too is that, you know, if any of these teams are going to make a deep run in the playoffs, it's very likely that there'll be rematches in the third round, possibly semifinals.
Ain't no doubt.
So you're going to have to beat some of these teams twice. The
Yeah.
second game's the one that really matters the most.
There ain't no doubt about it. And we've seen stranger things happen last year in the playoffs in certain days, and it was just crazy stuff can happen, especially in a region so stacked. Coach, before I let you out of here, I know you guys are fixing to start practice. Talk about the renovations and how that's coming along. Is it about on plan, about where you guys wanted to be at this point?
It's close. I'd say we kind of have things going on both ends. With the end of the stadium closest to the school, that's kind of the main event down there. There'll be a 40-yard indoor facility, new weight room, coaches' offices, meeting spaces, wrestling facility. All that's kind of wrapped into one. That is set to be finished in April.
Okay.
As with any construction project.
Is April coming up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're still in kind of some flux up until that point. But, once done, it's definitely going to be the best one in the state in high school football and likely better than some college programs. That's the way that our people who have planned this project have gone into it with the mindset of thinking this is going to be the best one in the state. And then on the other end of the stadium, that project is a little bit behind. It's really just a new stadium entrance and facade. It will not be completed 100% by the first game of this year due to some availability of materials. But, I mean, all in all, we're hoping this time next year everything for sure will be final. We'll have been in it for several months, and it'll be a facility like none other.
Now, another question I know fans would probably like to know, what will game day look like? Is parking going to be different? Is entrances going to be different? Do you know yet?
Well, that's a great question.
Still working those keys?
Still working those out, yeah. I mean, once the big question will be the first game that's here on August the 19th against McAdory, being that this end is not going to be completed. I know our people that really make those decisions are still kind of working through all that. I know our visiting teams that come here are going to have a long walk again this year, having to dress all the way on the other side of campus.
It's home field advantage.
It definitely is. It definitely is. Yeah. But there is an added parking area over by the school that previous was where an old service station was. That's now been knocked down.
Gotcha.
So we're hoping to be able to use that very soon, possibly. But I don't have a lot of definite answers for you on that right now.
If we find out information, the Average Joes will obviously share it for everyone. And Coach, before I let you go so you can get to practice, just final thoughts overall on, since you've had these guys here in the summer workouts and rolling into this all-important fall camp now.
But the biggest thing that stands out to me about the group we have now is just how much joy they have in just playing the game. There's not a day where we're having to drag them along, and it's a I get to practice kind of situation rather than I have to practice kind of situation.
Gotcha.
They just want to go out and compete, and having a more full roster allows us to do more competitive practice, have more competitive practices. We're good on good competition, and we're just hoping to reap the benefits of that here soon.
Coach, I appreciate your time. We're actually doing a coach's show with you this year. Haven't come up with a cool, trendy name yet. We might not be the Sam Adams show. It may be something a little cooler. We'll see. Coach, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking time out of your day today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Go Big Go.
Thank you.